Product market fit fundamentally is a dumb idea that doesn't exist. It's not a thing. 97 out of 100 fail to return 1x their investment.
Yeah.
Another 1.5 will return 1 to 3x. You know what's insane? 50% of restaurants will be around 7 years after they're founded. Venture-backed startups, it's less than 10.
India, Southeast Asia would be lower.
Instead, the urging from the market, from your investors, is pour gasoline on the fire and see if we have $1 billion outcome, or die trying.
You founded some companies that have really shaped the way internet works in today's time. How would you introduce yourself to, let's say, in a room of entrepreneurs and investors, or, fellow colleagues?
I would probably introduce myself as house husband of a famous author.
Let's go back to the time of Moz, which you grew to almost $30 million. Apologies if this is not the right figure.
I left Moz in February 28. Moz was doing around 50 million in revenue back then in ARR. That sounds super impressive. That company failed to deliver the return on investment that it promised its venture investors.
What are the GTM playbooks that you're going to recommend?
The playbook concept is a little structurally flawed. Every individual company's marketing playbook should be fundamentally different from everyone else's. The years that Moz grew the slowest were the years after we raised lots of money. I hear stories from founders. I lost my company. I had to fire everybody. My marriage fell apart. Just, is that really what we're trying to build? The goal in life should not be get ultra rich. It should be kind and awesome.
Welcome to Edbound with Kinner Rand. It's such an honor and a pleasure to have you with us today.
Yeah, glad to be here, Kinner.
Awesome. I see some really nice books in the background. Is that your office work from? Is that your home office or you?
Yeah, I'm home in Seattle.
Lovely. All right. So, I would love to kind of start with just a quick introduction of how would you introduce yourself to someone if you are at a party? Because you've been a marketer, an entrepreneur, an author, some legendary companies. Like I think you founded some companies that have really shaped the way internet works in today's time. Like I'm a big fan of Moz and so many other projects that you worked on. So how would you introduce yourself to, let's say, in a room of entrepreneurs and investors, or fellow colleagues?
Yeah, gosh, I am very shy about promoting myself, and so I probably, and I also, I don't like the sort of Silicon Valley, Bay Area mentality of people judging you based on how important your job is or what you built. So yeah, I would probably introduce myself as house husband of a famous author. I like talking about my wife's work more than mine. So yeah, that's probably what I'd use. I don't like to say who I am or what I do. I don't know. I don't want people judging me that way.
Wow. That's so different, right? I think you possibly, out of like almost 30 guests that I have spoken to, this is a different one. I haven't heard this one before.
I don't know. Like, Kinner, have you been in those situations, where, I don't know. I say Silicon Valley because it happened to me a lot when I would go to the Bay Area and there would be an event and, people would walk up to you, start chatting, and then they sort of have that moment where they realize, oh, you're someone important. And so suddenly my tone changes toward you, or I don't think you're somebody important. And so I just walk away and I don't care about you. And that is gross. It makes relationships feel transactional. And I just have no interest in that. Like, I don't give a crap whether you sweep floors or cut hair or do dishes or, I don't know, make AI tools for a living. Like, it doesn't matter to me. If you're cool, if we like each other, if we share interests and passions, let's be friends. Let's hang out. Who cares what your job is or how much you get paid or whether you can help me at work? That is not why I'm interested in meeting people, right? Like, I care about people because I care about people. And if you only care about people as a means to further your own end, you are straight up evil. That is the core definition of evil in every, religion, in every book of karma and morality. Yeah, that's just greed. So this is why I don't like to introduce myself with, oh, these are all my accomplishments and here's my bio and whatever, books and companies. No, unless I'm meeting kids. This is the one exception. If I'm meeting kids, I always tell kids that I am the founder of a video game studio, because kids love chatting about video games, and I love talking about video games with kids and learning what they like and don't like and which games they're into. So then I'll tell people, yes, I started this studio called Snack Bar Studio. We're making this game. I tell them about the game. I try and get their feedback. I do love chatting with kids about it. Plus, kids don't have no filter, right? Like, they don't care.
Yeah.
You could introduce yourself as like, oh yeah, I'm whatever, the president of this country and the founder of Google, and they'd be like, okay, want to see my new toy? Like, great, yeah. Love kids.
Yes, I have an 8-year-old, and the reason I'm in Colorado Springs right now is she's doing figure skating, and this is the Olympic training site. She's kind of passionate about this, and my wife's traveled here earlier as well, but she kind of won the nationals in India. And now she comes here, and well, let's see if she sticks with it. I think she's got talent.
Oh but my God. That's so cool.
Yeah, I relate with what you're saying, but unfortunately, it's all objective. Let's say, I mean, we judge everything, almost every book that we read, almost now even the movies we watch, people we meet, with this measuring cylinder of, is it going to be like, how big or how good is this going to be for getting my agenda further? I hear you. It's so spiritual to talk about that. And, I kind of read a lot of spiritual stuff, but I think, let me just tell you, it's not rare. It's like ultra rare. I mean, almost anybody else. And you're possibly the first person, who's kind of spoken about it. It makes sense. But, the reason why I ask this is because that's what, not just in the Valley, but almost everywhere, the capitalistic lens of, how can I achieve what I want, and how do I sync up with everybody else who can get me there faster?
Well, here's what we're going to do, Kinner. You and me, we're going to start a movement to fight against that and just, forget about that crap, because that's not what really matters in life. And it's not even what really matters in business. I mean, very frankly, as long as you can keep a business profitable and healthy and functional and paying its team nicely, and doing work that you love to do and that you're passionate about and that keeps you engaged and interested. Let me tell you, man, I mean, the difference between I make a few $100,000 a year, which is a wonderful salary, right, in the United States at least, and I make a few million, or I make tens of millions or hundreds of millions. Here's the only difference. It's really hard not to be a dick when you're making millions or tens of millions or more a year. Really, really hard. I don't know what it is, but the human beings I know, even people I thought were cool in my 20s and 30s and, a few years ago, when they started amassing more than, say, I'm going to say like in the tens of millions of dollars, there's a lot of people I know who are still cool. But then above that, the percent of people who stayed cool after they made that much money is vanishingly, what did you call it? Ultra rare. Ultra rare to be very rich and still a good person and a cool person and someone you'd want to spend time with. And I can't tell you what your goal in life is, but I could tell you that the goal in life should not be get ultra rich. It should be kind and awesome.
Wow. I do see a musical instrument in the background. I used to play guitar, and I think, the conversation here, if almost everybody was thinking in objective terms of getting rich, making more money, I think the instruments will start disappearing, because, not everybody is going to follow and be a career musician, and, that doesn't give you money, and you won't just follow the joy. Yeah. So I hear you. I mean, this is such an echo of what I feel and believe in my core. But, like I said, ultra rare. And I think it's super nice.
I want to be fully transparent. Like, a lot of my work, the thing I do all day, every day, is help people do better marketing, which is like that is trying to help people make more money. But my focus, Kinner, like when I try and think about who I want to help, whether it was at Moz or Sparktoro or any of my other projects, it's like the small and medium businesses and the early stage companies. I really love seeing people get to go from a place of struggle to a place of comfort. But once you're there, and this is why none of my companies have ever really helped enterprises, I don't want to help a big bank make another $1 billion next week. That's so uninteresting to me. It's boring. I don't know. It feels like it's helping the wrong people. It doesn't really add anything to the world. But when you help a new entrepreneur take a product that's never existed before and get that into the market, that feels exciting. It's creative. It's imaginative. It feels like you're making a difference in the world. You're changing somebody's life. I love the messages that come from people that said, hey, you helped me solve this marketing problem. And I went from not being able to pay my bills and being worried about, whether I could afford to start a family to now I've got my kids' college fund ready and like they can go to school and I don't have to worry about it. And those emails, those are the ones that I'm trying to get more of.
I mean, this is powerful stuff. The way you've connected your, let's say why you're doing this and why you're enjoying what you're doing, I think it makes a lot of sense. And like they say, if your why is strong, gets you keep, you just keep going without kind of thinking about the rewards and you're enjoying the journey. So from Moss to Sparktoro, I kind of love the impact that you're having on people, across the globe. You're followed by so many people on LinkedIn. And I know Moz has been, it laid down the foundations of so many different kind of principles of marketing. And I would love to know a little bit more. Let me just introduce you to what Edbound stands for. And then my question is going to be about the playbooks that you would suggest someone in that ICP, like a young business, because those are the kind of people that I talk to. So I'll give you a little background on that. The concept of Edbound is centered around the premise that, inbound marketing and outbound marketing both have diminishing returns because, you have email open rates that are going low, especially in, let's say, Asian, GCC, and, some other parts of the world. WhatsApp's kind of far better than whatever you'll do on an email. It's not even a comparison because the open rate could be 10, 11% on an email versus 90% on a WhatsApp. The game's completely shifting. So what we are saying is Edbound means a marketing motion built on top of educational content, like a white paper, ebook, or a webinar. And you first give to the customer. You basically constantly build a relationship by giving them good content, and the content should be solving a contextual problem in their lives. It could be whatever the journey of your ICP customer is, and that's what's called Edbound. And while they consume this content, you're qualifying the kind of people you would have conversations with because they are engaging with the deep content you have, and you can layer Edbound strategies on top of inbound or outbound marketing. So that's what Edbound kind of stands for, and we're trying to build a platform like that. So GTM and GTM motions are at the heart of what we are trying to do. But I'm kind of talking to a lot of founders around the world, learning what are the playbooks that they would suggest to people who are specifically, startups, Series A, B types, if we were looking at venture funded. But if we were not looking at that, maybe 20, 30, 50, 100 people teams, what are the GTM playbooks that you're going to recommend? So let's hear it from you.
Yeah, so I think that I'm a little worried about the concept of playbook as a whole. I think that every individual company's marketing playbook should be fundamentally different from everyone else's. And I worry that when we use the phrase playbook, what's assumed by a lot of people is that, the thing that worked for these 5 companies is going to also work for me. And almost never, when you dig into the details, almost never do you find that those 5 companies that you think you're copying their playbook have anything similar to one another. They've all done something quite different. They've chosen different channels. They use different tactics. They have a different unique value proposition. They are getting attention in different ways. They're good at different parts. Their skill set is different. Their team composition is usually different. The way the team's organized and managed is different. I am shocked, even if you go to, let's say you pick an extremely narrow category, so business to business, software as a service, serving enterprise customers with an outbound sales and a marketing qualified leads process, right? It seems very classic. There must be 150 business books written just about doing that specific kind of marketing and sales process. And yet, if you were to climb inside the teams of, 5 of those companies, you would find that every one of them do something different. Some of them are really good at email marketing, and that's how they build their list, and it's through a newsletter. Some of them are incredibly good at social media marketing, and then they do outreach one-to-one on the social media marketing. Some use social media marketing well, but they drive it to white papers and downloads and gated content that's on their website, and that's how they do it. And many of these try to do a mix of a bunch of these different things, and almost never, except when they're sort of, reaching escape velocity, like, hundreds of millions of dollars, almost never are they doing 10 of those things and all of them are working. Sometimes they're trying to do 5 or 6 of them, but usually it's only 1 or 2 of those processes that are really working for them. They've essentially found their flywheel, like the thing that they can do over and over and over again, with either decreasing friction, so like each time they do it, it gets easier, or the friction stays the same, like it's just as hard to do it each time, but they get more return from it every time they do it, right? So that grows. And my broad point with this, Kinner, is just that the playbook concept is a little structurally flawed, because I think the best way to figure out the marketing that's going to work for you is finding your strengths and then how that matches up with your unique audience's attributes and behaviors. Who are they? What do they like? What do they consume? Where do they consume it? How do they consume it? What resonates with them? And then your messaging and positioning. So what is it that you do that's different from what everybody else does, and that effectively sticks in the minds of your potential customers in a way that is working better than what the competition is doing for that same audience.
Oh, that's really well put. And again, I see that you challenge the norms. The word playbook is never, again, been challenged before. I love this. Like, so what would you call it? I mean, would you like to call them Lego blocks?
I like that. Building blocks. Right. So there's kind of like these fundamental building blocks of marketing, and they haven't really changed in 100 years, right? Or more. You're choosing messaging, you're choosing positioning, you're choosing what your unique value proposition is, you're picking the channels that you're going to reach your audience in, and you're doing your tactical placement of those messages in the formats that might work, in the channels that hopefully they pay attention to, in the ways that you hope resonate. And then you're finding that flywheel that can work over and over again on repeat to earn you customers again and again. And the goal is to increase the effectiveness of that flywheel.
Yeah. So if I asked you this question in connection with Sparktoro, I mean, you've used certain building blocks. What were those and how did they play together?
Yeah, I would say our fundamental building blocks are the product itself has a free version that exists on the website, and that drives a lot of people to come to the website, give us their email address, sign up for a free account, use the free account, and then we sort of use email marketing to nudge them toward either a paid subscription or better use of the free version so that they recommend Sparktoro to other people. And that flywheel has worked quite well for us. And then we have, I would say, maybe 2 or 3 other things that we do. One is conferences and events. Amanda and I speak at a healthy number of those. We get coverage through them. The second is content. We create a lot of, I would say it's educational, but you can probably tell from just this conversation, it is highly opinionated and I would say almost rebellious educational content, right? So it has a very strong point of view, often in conflict with what other recommendations exist out in the market. And then the other thing that works quite well for us is social media. So historically, Twitter was our primary one. And then when Elon bought it, Twitter sort of collapsed and died. And now we are much heavier on LinkedIn. We also use Threads and Blue Sky. Blue Sky's kind of become my primary Twitter replacement.
Wow.
And it's quite good. I really like that platform in a lot of ways. And I would say Threads is great for reach, but harder for engagement per post. And LinkedIn has been really good for us. We also use, to a smaller degree, Reddit and YouTube, which gets some decent reach. So that's kind of our custom playbook is built of all those blocks.
Yeah. That's. I mean, it's fantastic. You utilizing everything that kind of gets you top of the funnel reach, and then you have free trial that gets them in the middle to bottom I mean, your email, and I'm sure in email you kind of lay down some case studies and bottom funnel conversion kind of, nudges. And obviously the education content, I'd read of something else as well where, you had this whiteboard Friday. Is that kind of also part of like the bottom funnel conversion, or I mean?
Yeah, so that's part of our content creation. They're called 5-minute whiteboards. And I do probably one of those every week or two. So you can find a lot of them on the Sparktoro blog. And those 5-minute whiteboards are exactly what it sounds like. It's me either with a literal physical whiteboard right here in my office space, or kind of a digital whiteboard where I'm showing off next to me what's happening on a website, in a graph, in some research, showing a process. I'm showing some slides, that kind of thing, and walking through a concept, explaining something, maybe showing off a problem and how Sparktoro can solve it, or how marketers can solve it using other tools or processes. And that content is, I would say, very successful on the social platforms when it's posted natively. And then we host the kind of original findable version on our website as well. But we found that we actually can't get great traction just posting it on our blog.
Yeah.
You've got to use the native format. A lot of what Amanda and I do is called zero-click marketing, which is a term she came up with. And that's essentially saying, hey, the platforms don't want to send any traffic to websites. So the influence that we have to create is in the feed itself. Wow. It's on YouTube, it's on Reddit, it's on Threads, it's on Instagram, it's on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, or even it's in the Google search results, but not something that they're going to click. And same with AI tools. Like it's in ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini or whoever, Claude might recommend Sparktoro for doing audience research, but almost never is it like, here's a link to the website unless you ask them specific.
So that's kind of building the entire top of the funnel outreach, right? I mean, usually when people hear about you in the feed, you're grabbing new eyeballs, or do you see that? I mean, do you track conversions? How much of your traffic finally converts into paid customers through because I know some people I've spoken to, like Adam Robinson from RB2B, he's fanatic about like measuring it to the T, and until about like 1.5 months ago, almost 90% was converting because of what he was posting on LinkedIn, so do you have like a metric like that you measure?
So I don't know how Adam thinks he's tracking LinkedIn, but LinkedIn very often doesn't send a refer string, right? So you won't
there are
know
tools.
that. Yeah,
there are tools now.
The visit, came from them. And then the other thing LinkedIn does is, it gives you a whole bunch of reach if you post natively in the platform. I'm talking about the organic side, not the paid side. Paid side, you can track everything. Organic side, if I post a video and it gets 100,000 impressions and 50,000 people watch it to the end or whatever, I will never know if some of those 15,000 people later come to Sparktoro's website and later sign up for it, right? LinkedIn doesn't give you any way to put those things together. I mean, A, it would be illegal if they did, right? Like that would violate every privacy law in the book. But B, even if they did, right? Like the browsers are so anonymizing now, and so many people, especially in our world, use all sorts of things to block your tracking ability, ad blockers, and all that kind of stuff that you'd never be able to see it. But anyway, no, so we don't track that. The only thing we really track, to be honest, Kinner, is like at the very bottom of the funnel, we look at how many people sign up for free accounts. We look at how many people convert to paid, and we look at sort of classic SaaS metrics like retention and churn and upgrades and that kind of stuff. We do not pay any attention to, can I prove that this post on this network was more effective than this post on this network, or this blog post was more effective than that blog post. There's only 3 of us. It would be like 2 people's full-time analyst job to try and build stuff like that. And I don't even think it would work. Like, I think fundamentally that kind of tracking died 10 years ago. And so honestly, the way we do it is experimentation. Like, hey, I'm going to try this. Oh yeah, that seems to have worked, right? Like more people are coming this week than last week. Let's do more stuff like this.
Wow. I mean, I don't know if you want to check this out. I did a podcast with Max from Trigify. Okay. That's kind of a tool to track stuff like this only. And there are a lot of tools that, yes, you're right. Some of them, not Trigify, but there are tons of tools that use enrichments, even can scrape data from who viewed the content and you put them on Clay, Zapier. I mean, there are tons of hacks now, almost like Zoom Info too. I mean, data providers in the US, there is a reason RB2B only offers it in the US right now, where even anonymous traffic on the website can be named and used as a signal.
Yeah, you can do IP stuff. You can do whatchamacallit, like browser fingerprinting, which Google said they might start doing some of that stuff. And still, I would argue that you are throwing tons of money, time, tools, and effort at tracking something that's not actually making you any better at what you do. It's not the only reason to do that stuff is for ad spend. Ad spend, I agree, it's efficient. But to be totally honest, if you are trying to figure out, hey, are my LinkedIn posts of my videos more effective than the ones I put on Twitter, or more effective than the ones I put on Threads or Blue Sky or Mastodon or whatever? Why? Why do you care? If you're going to change your behavior significantly, okay, but are you really going to stop posting because LinkedIn's reach is like 4 visits for every post versus Threads is only 2? No, you're not going to stop. So why are you tracking? Why do you care? I don't understand. If you tell me, oh, hey, we're trying to figure out whether we should invest more in Threads, what are you talking about? Like, if it works on one social network, you're probably going to continue doing those things in other places. If you personally are the person doing the social media posting and you're getting better at Threads over time and you're growing your audience and you're seeing more traffic come from it and you are seeing more engagement per post, all the vanity metrics, keep it up. Like, it's working, right? You've got something going. Those things are not true and you have other areas where you can invest, then pull back on it. But you don't need to know, like, hey, this visitor who converted, I must know that the 6 visits that they came from, was one of those from Threads or not? Why? What are you doing, bro? What is your life?
Yeah, no, I get it. I think, and it's so refreshing to learn from you because your first principle fundamentals are so clear. I mean, let's go back to the time of Moz, which you grew to almost $30 million. I don't know. Apologies if this is not the right figure because this is what internet threw at us, but we kind of looked at
it. Is not totally. Let's see. So when I left Moz in February 2018. I think the last year that I was on the board was 2019, and Moz was doing around 50 million in revenue back then.
Yeah,
in ARR. But
so that's
like
off by about 20 million.
That sounds super impressive, but Kinner, it is that company failed, right? Like, that company failed to deliver the return on investment that it promised its venture investors.
And you raised about 30 million, like almost a similar amount, or was it a bit more?
Yeah, let's see. When I was CEO, we raised 18, 19, and I think the CEO who followed me raised another 10. Yeah, so 29 million total, right?
Yeah, no, so we got this right. But let's hear about the fundamental lessons that somebody could apply when they're trying to find like I understand the flywheel, the building blocks, those are fantastic. A lot of times you'll be surprised that by throwing more effort, content, sometimes venture money on things like, you can get disillusioned into believing that, yes, you've found a flywheel or this works, but you're throwing more gas on it. And I don't know how to put it. Like, how do we find sanity and make sure that, this works? Because even finding the right product market fit is so different for so many people. It's like somebody says, I've signed 100 customers and every time I speak to 10, I convert 4 or 5. Like, and I do have a product market fit, but somebody else goes on and I've had investors, we raised about $3 million for my last company, which didn't end up doing so well. But, some people would say, unless people are crying to buy your product, you don't have product market fit. I mean, there are so many definitions. You just go mad.
I mean, because product market fit fundamentally is a dumb idea that doesn't exist. It's not a thing. There's no such thing as product market fit, right?
Wow. You're like this. You have all these great ideas. I think you just break all the traditional language words. Love it.
because people fall into this, I don't know, like world of, I heard this thing, therefore I should use that language. And that's not how anything works. So product market fit, the Silicon Valley myth conception, which no offense to Eric Ries, I think the lean startup did a bunch of wonderful things, but I think it also did a bunch of terrible things for people, which was that they came to believe that there was this magical time in a startup's life when they had created a product that people wanted so much that an inflection point was tipped over. And now everything about the company's growth trajectory, potential, ability to raise money, ability to turn money into more money, like it all shifted as soon as this magical concept was reached. But that's not how any company or any product or any market has ever worked. The way it works is there's a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum from very few people need or want this product and it's quite hard to sell to this product is desperately wanted by everyone. And so long as you can provide it at this price or less, it will be purchased over and over again. Gasoline is a great example of the far end of the spectrum, right? Like if you have gasoline, people will buy it because they need it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do the same thing with just energy as a whole, right? People need it, they'll buy it. And then way down at the other end of the spectrum is you have a new grape soda on the market. It's really hard, right? There's like 5,000 other grape sodas. Your potential to sell is limited, but the spectrum is the concept. There's no like magical point in here where, during the whatever development of your grape soda or your gasoline, you suddenly tipped over into, before this, I didn't have product market fit. But then, we made the lettering on the grape soda can gold, and now we have product market fit. And so you should give us
here
money.
Is the idea. So hear this. How about grape soda with vitamin D and replace gummies? Now, with that differentiation, can I find it easier?
So you can move along the spectrum. And that is a fundamentally different idea than there's a tipping point and like there's all over here, no product market fit, all over here, product market fit. That's the dumb idea. But the spectrum and moving along the spectrum and continually trying to keep going, making progress, that's a good idea. So a spectrum of, does our product serve our market better than the competition? Does it solve the most painful problem that our market is experiencing? Is it positioned well and marketed well to the right audience? And is that group of people a growing audience that will continue to be sort of our customer base for the future? Those are all great questions to ask. And none of them are things that people do after they think they've found magical product market fit. They just come and they pitch you. Our company has found product market fit, so we don't have to worry about any of that shit anymore. Now we're just worried about, we need to pitch investors and we need to pour gasoline on this fire to grow it. Yeah. What? You never need to stop thinking about whether your product serves your customers. You never need to stop thinking about whether your product needs to continue to make innovations. Yeah. You never need to stop worrying about whether your market is growing. Like none of the things that you do to move along the spectrum stop because you've hit some magical word called product market fit. That's the problem.
Wow. Yeah. So beautifully put. I kind of agree with you like completely there. And this is a battle, and these languages, I mean, especially in the VC world, the kind of standard, if you don't answer these questions, you can't raise. I mean, a fund would never invest in you, right? I mean, you've been there, right? I mean, you've raised money.
Yeah. I think, look, back in the day, Kinner, I used to speak VC language, which meant I would say, we found product market fit. Let me show you the metrics. And then I could pitch them on, we're a culture-driven business and we have these churn retention characteristics. Like I used to speak their language. And when I did, and because of that, I trained myself to do it so that I could raise money because I thought that's what the goal of the business was to raise more money. And like, look, we have a top tier fund invested in us. And so now we're impressive and you should invite me to speak at your events. It's that kind of BS. And none of that was good for our customers. None of it was good for the company. The years that Moz grew the slowest were the years after we raised lots of money. Wow. because we were doing all the dumb shit that we thought we were supposed to do. And I'm not trying to we are far from the exception to the rule. Like if you go out into venture world and you look at, I was actually just talking to a venture investor who left the business recently, but he was sharing with me the latest sort of NVCA data, right? Looking at companies invested in the United States by, professional venture firms. and 97 out of 100 fail to return 1x their investment.
Yeah.
Another 1.5 will return 1 to 3x, and then it's only the 1 out of 100 that's returning, and that is like across the last 15 years or something. So if you
and that's the US. Is that a global data set?
No,
or
that's
US?
United States.
US, okay.
US, yeah. My understanding is actually that European success rates for venture are much, much higher, meaning like 5 might, be returning.
India would be much lower. India, Southeast Asia would be lower.
I don't know. It could be higher, right? Like the success rate might be higher.
I'm pretty sure because it would be almost similar. I mean, they're growing markets, but there are so many, let's say, untested, uncharted territories that you would, it's not defined, and there are then, sectoral issues. But yeah, I hear you. So
I mean, the failure rate is insanely high. So I attribute that to once venture is put into a company, very often the founders think that means we have product market fit and we should do all these growth things, rather than, wait, this is all a spectrum. We should continue to be as conservative as we've been with cash. We should try to find a profitable, growing business, and then we should see where that takes us. But instead, the urging from the market, from the culture, from your investors is pour gasoline on the fire and see if we have $1 billion outcome, or die trying. And die trying is totally fine for the investors because they have a portfolio of hundreds of companies, but it's not fine for you. It's not fine for your team. It's not fine for your customers. It's a terrible experience for all those people. I hate when companies that I like and use get shut down because they raised venture. I hate when products that I used to love become corrupted by the venture environment. I hate when I hear stories from other founders who come to me and they're like, oh, I read your book, Rand, and God, this terrible thing happened to me too. I lost my company and I had to fire everybody, and it was the worst day of my life, and I was depressed for years and my marriage fell apart. And my God, is that really what we're trying to build? Is that what we're trying to, is that what we're creating? And why?
I think it's the same. What we started with.
Here's something totally insane. Restaurants. Restaurant businesses are supposed to be very tough. Brutal, long hours, hard work, supposed to be high failure rates. Restaurants in the United States, the odds that you will be around, if you start a restaurant tomorrow, if you and I start up a restaurant tomorrow, on average, 50% of restaurants will be around 7 years after they're founded. 50%. 50.
Whoa.
You know what it is for venture-backed startups? It's less than 10.
Wow.
A restaurant is 5 times more likely to succeed, right, over the course of 7 years and survive. So, look, we're doing something real wrong.
Yeah. And I think you've changed a lot of things when you're doing this now. I mean, are you using AI as well to keep yourself profitable, lean? I mean, where do you see this going with artificial intelligence, things changing?
Let's see. I do think AI has some uses that help people stay lean, especially, I talk to a lot of my software engineer friends, and all of them say the same thing, which is AI does not replace software engineers, but it can make us more efficient. Just like coding libraries made us more efficient, just like Stack Overflow made us more efficient. The internet made a lot of engineers more efficient right back in the day. Mobile made some engineers quite a bit more efficient. Google Drive made engineers more efficient. I think AI makes engineers more efficient. So like you can debug things faster. You can code some things more quickly than you used to be able to, or you can build more features more effectively than you used to be able to. That's great. I think that's wonderful. And yeah, Casey uses some AI tools, my co-founder, in his coding stuff, Copilot or whatever. And we are just starting to introduce some AI features into Sparktoro, but it's really, I think of it again, like very differently from a lot of people. We did not go, hey, how can we use AI in Sparktoro? Instead, we went, gosh, we have this problem. Specifically, our problem was a lot of people couldn't describe their audiences to us in one of the 3 ways that we had, which used to be like, tell us a website, tell us a bio or profile term, or tell us something that someone searches for in Google. and then we'll give you data about that audience. And people kept coming to us and saying, well, my audience is 25 to 40-year-old women who are into pottery in Canada. They often are taking classes at different studios, and then they're selling on Etsy. Can you find that audience for me? And we were like, a large language model is actually going to be really good at that. That's a great use case. Let's take that problem and solve it with this solution that's quite well made for. So now someone can come to Sparktoro and type in exactly that and get data about that audience. And we essentially on the back end, convert.
I'm going to try that. It sounds like a cool feature. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's super fun. And you can get really weird and creative with it too, right?
Wow. I'm going to head out straight to the website after this call. But no, I recommend everybody do that because I don't know if you were part of the conceptualizing team of the HubSpot persona builder, because that was the old world of, how you would kind of I remember 5 years ago in my last startup, I had taken out those 3 printouts of hypothetical personas from that persona builder posted on the walls. But this is the new world, and I hear what you're saying, and I think this is going to be a game changer. So I'm going to try that.
That's fun. So I think Casey, my co-founder, worked with Dharmesh at HubSpot Labs on the persona builder, and Dharmesh is an investor in Sparktoro too. So yeah.
Yeah, I know that you were kind of the founding member for Inbound, was it? Yeah.
It was Dharmesh and I who were like, we should make a community for people who are into Inbound. And yeah.
And that was one of the pillars of growth for HubSpot. Because, you guys weren't the first CRMs. Commoditized, right? It's like you just differentiate yourself by saying, no, we're not a CRM. We are an inbound marketing tool. It was a masterstroke.
Again, right? Good positioning. Good marketing and messaging in the places where people paid attention to a group of people who felt underserved by sort of these very enterprise software centric CRM products. And then, eventually I think HubSpot came to be seen as another CRM, but a leader.
Yeah. So I'm going to try this tool for sure. But the interesting piece is there. And I just want to share one experience with you on the AI coding bit. So just about 6-7 days ago, and we were trying to raise, our fundraise was delayed, and I had so many features that my clients wanted, and I felt that they needed to keep building on what we were offering, like a community feature, a way to show content in a different way, stuff like that, right? So we really pushed in a 2-week hackathon and implemented tons of AI coding tools, pair coding and, co-pilots and stuff like that. We tried everything from Cursor, GitHub Copilot to everything that was out there. But let me tell you the big difference we felt. My head of engineering, CTO, said that we possibly will not need to hire another engineer if the development pace of AI tools stays at this pace. So, and it's not a small statement. I'll tell you when I agreed to him. So one of the features which we would have taken about 25-30 days to release, and so many people coming in, was done in about 7 hours by one single guy. So what that means is not just shorter times. Yes, the human stays in the loop because he's getting this done, but he doesn't need 6 more engineers that he would have if I had 5 more features like that piled on for the month. So it's like I can be like a 35-40 people might company with just 2 guys behind these, co-coding pairs. Just unbelievable. I feel it's a shakeup like never before.
I'm not totally sure. I'm not completely convinced. I think there is analogies to factory automation, right? So you go back to 1915, and if you wanted to get a wheel onto a car, you had to have a human who was lifting a wheel off a factory floor and pushing it onto the axle of the car, right? And now, obviously, a machine is putting the wheel onto the axle, and there's going to be human beings on the factory floor who are sort of checking things. So you've replaced some human labor.
Yes.
And I suspect that's true of AI as well. But when you look at the automotive industry, the number of people employed or the percent of the population, if you prefer, employed in 1915, or let's fast forward to a year when there was a lot more automobile production, 1942, tons of automobile production, tons of people employed in that field. And there's more people employed today, even though we've had tons of automation, like a million things are automated. So I'm a little skeptical of this whole, like, no, AI is different. Unlike every other innovation in human history, AI will be the one that actually replaces jobs. I don't know, man. I don't buy it.
Let's see. But I seriously, it's not just a feeling. I'm seeing it almost in every single role. You know, when you talk about like content strategists, or when you implement a webinar funnel, for an instance, we are on this session right now, and then I will have some human come chop off our session bits and, you know, post produce it, look at what all could become a reel, and use intelligence, you know, create posts for multiple platforms, Threads, LinkedIn, Twitter, Insta, wherever, post them there, tell me about analytics. I mean, I get it that still a human is required, but you won't believe that this entire process can be an AI agent. And it can even make a phone call to you and say, should I fire this? I'm sending you on Instagram. If you want to approve, or on Telegram or WhatsApp, you can approve. Or if you don't give me an approval, I'm going to go ahead and post it. And then, you know, I'll comment on the posts. It's no longer a fiction. It's happening right now. You know, it's just crazy.
So when you, here's a great example of this, right? So when the iPhone came out, and then mobile cameras got better and better and better, and tools from people like TikTok and Snapchat got better and better and better, there were features and functionality that could make any random person who never had any like video training experience, they were suddenly able to themselves create content. And so we had the rise of creators and influencers, and production quality went way up, expectations, fast cuts, all this kind of stuff. Will AI make a bunch of that stuff even easier and better? Absolutely. And is that going to mean that fewer people make content or more people make content? I think more. Like my strong suspicion with that you will now enable more content creators. So I'm not saying exactly the same job will always exist and the same person will be required to do the labor.
I think that's a valid point.
So, like, I do believe that, just like with our automobile example, you don't have to have the human being pick up the tire and put it onto, or pick up the wheel and put it onto the axle. You can have a machine do that. Do I think that the automotive industry will stop employing humans, or they'll employ? No, it'll just change. Like, the work will change. There will be more designers of cars who can get more types of features into automobiles, and there'll be more people selling cars, and there'll be more car dealerships, and there'll be, like, we'll democratize cars just like we're democratizing software. And so there'll be more people who can do things with software that used to be like, well, I could never build that because, I'd have to hire a team of 20 people. Now you don't have to hire a team of 20 people, but that means that 20 people who were going to be hired onto teams can now be making their own software.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. No, I think I couldn't agree more. This is bang on. This is what's happening. But yeah, it's a big shakeup. I think a lot of, you just feel like, it's rapidly like, and you read about it every single day, experiment, and you're like, wow.
I will say this. I think more than any technology trend in our lifetime, more than any technology trend in our lifetime, even more so than the adoption of the internet or the rise of the personal computer in the 1980s and 90s, the press is obsessed with talking about AI. Obsessed with talking about it, and obsessed with talking about it in a generally dangerous and negative way.
Like, you're right about that. Yes, there's a bit of a fear mongering.
Yes, absolutely. I think that, well, two problems. Like, one, social media has meant that in order to get traffic to publishing websites, you need to fear monger, because fear creates the emotional response that you need to get engagement and drive traffic. Yeah. If you just say, interesting developments in AI tools allow developers to do XYZ, nobody clicks that article. But if you say, AI will destroy jobs, it will ruin the planet, the economy is going to upend, people are going to lose their livelihoods.
Yeah.
Everybody's clicking on that, right? And to be honest, like, I think this is how the press sort of tragically learned this in politics and social issues, and now carries it over to everything else. And so AI gets that treatment. And look, I think that's generally a bad thing, but you should also recognize that it's a reality that you probably have to play to in your marketing. If you post clips from the show and you're like, hey, we had a lovely conversation, Rand and I talked about some really interesting things, you should check it out.
Yeah.
No one cares.
You know
No
what?
one.
Let me tell you about a headline. Product market fit is bullshit.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
You have to
And,
be, it
and
has
now
to be
people want to click.
creative. It's got to be differentiated. It has to be emotional.
Yeah.
People have to react strongly to the
Yeah.
headline. They have to react to the clip. They have to feel, there has to be a bunch of people who inherently disagree when they first see
Yeah.
it. That is what is going to get the engagement. And so even when you're doing whatever, B2B, SaaS, podcast marketing, like that kind of stuff, you still are playing to these algorithmic forms of engagement the same way the media is demonizing AI or whatever, making white people afraid of brown people so that they'll vote for, crazy assholes. It's the same thing, right? It's the same driver.
Yeah. No, but I think as responsible marketeers or people who truly believe in giving value, like started, Playbook, maybe we call it building blocks, but I think they can be a game changer for anyone. And that's truly the intention I carry, that, if people can understand the fundamental way someone who's done it and, who's cracked it saves you so much of heartbreak and time. And I truly believe in it. I think it's played out in my life and almost everybody that I've spoken to. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, we're not in that space. Like I know B2C, D2C, clickbaits and stuff like that even works like deeply. And you can have like scary shit out there. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Web3 trend, crypto and a lot of the NFTs, that was all built around fear of losing out and like the lottery idea of winning money and all all that kind of stuff. And it was predatory, and tragically it meant a huge wealth transfer from a lot of people who did not have money to a few people who made tons of money and reinforced their own wealth around it. And then sort of amplified that through their postings and their events and their whatever sports cars in Miami and all that kind of stuff. And then convinced other people, hey, you also should prop up the price of this meme coin, whatever it was, NFT, crypto kitty. Yeah. And it's shady. It's super shady, but there's good ways to use this knowledge too, right? Like there are ethical and intelligent and kind and thoughtful ways to just recognize that your audience is bombarded by too many messages to care about, hey, here's something interesting. And so you need to find emotional triggers and, headlines that will get people's attention if you're going to have any chance of influencing them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But I know we are getting close to the end of. Yeah, so I'll just have two questions. I mean, quick ones. For some reason, I don't want to ask you about message for entrepreneurs. I feel, the spiritual vibe as well, the clarity. So how do we make sure as entrepreneurs that we stay in this zone? I don't know if you get the question. Like, what's your mantra? I don't know what's the right word. Like, how would you give me a set of rules?
I think a lot about a few things, which is I think a lot about what I'm putting into the world and what I get back from that. I guess spiritually, I don't think of myself as a very spiritual person, but I do think of myself as someone who tries to be really thoughtful about the value exchange between, like, you're a life on planet Earth, as we all are, and our purpose, at least to me, seems extremely clear, which is to make life better for others, other humans, hopefully other animals and other plants and other life forms. I think that's a wonderful and noble way to live your life, and a great way to feel good about yourself at the end of the day and feel like you've contributed. And very frankly, if your exclusive goal, which, look, I know we're in the business of software and entrepreneurship, and that comes with a degree of like greed. And I also have I have a deep understanding of the fact that especially American style capitalism is absolutely brutal. And if you don't make it, things get terrible. The difference between me and, folks who are unhoused and like trying to, ride the bus in the winter so that they can stay warm during the day. We're not different. Their brain isn't different from my brain. They probably got unlucky in a few ways that I got lucky in. And that sucks. So I recognize like how desperate the situation that especially Americans with no social system, security system, like it's rough out here. And so I get it. But also the difference between wanting to sort of make your business successful, profitable, happy, a good experience for yourself and your employees and team, I think that has to be the North Star. It cannot be growth at all costs. It can't be venture style growth. And this is one of the reasons I really advise people to do two things. One, if you can raise money in a different way than venture, I recommend that. Sparktoro and Snack Bar Studio, both of my companies, have raised money from individual private investors using a unique model that one is an LLC, one's a C Corp. Those documents are open sourced. If you search for Snack Bar funding or Sparktoro funding, you will find the documents open sourced. You can use them. You can save a bunch of money with your attorneys. You can raise money from people in this differentiated way that is designed to build a profitable, lower risk business. The kind of business that will be around in 7 years, right? And hopefully produce dividends and pay your investors back. The other thing I would say is if you've taken venture, one of the things that nobody told me, which is true, is that you don't have to spend the money. You don't. You can keep a bunch of cash in the bank earning, whatever, treasury bill dividends and run your company so that you are break even or very close to it and find that profitability and not just pour gasoline onto a fire, which, by the way, I love that venture capitalists use this analogy because pouring gasoline on a fire is a terrible fucking idea all the time. You should never do it, right? Like if someone told you in real life, look, a fire and here's a can of gasoline. Well, don't pour that on that. That would be dumb.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can build a profitable, long lasting, happy, healthy company and make that the goal, even if you've raised venture already. I wish I had internalized that, after I raised. I bet Moz would be not only a better company today, I bet it would technically be more successful in its space, far more successful in its space if I had aimed for that goal.
That's so profound. Thank you so much for sharing that. Love it. And if you have 30 more seconds, 2 or 3 books that you would recommend people that they would read, entrepreneurs, GTM, those themes.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, if you haven't read Kurt Vonnegut's books, Slaughterhouse-Five is the most famous, but I would strongly recommend those. If you haven't read Joseph Heller's Catch-22, you should really read that. I realize I'm recommending literature to you, but I think it's more powerful. I think it's more powerful than almost any of the business. I have a ton of business books. You can see back here. Got a bunch
I can't read the labels, but
yeah, here, if I put it in focus for you there.
Yes. Now,
right. So a bunch of these are Dungeons and Dragons books. But what did I really like recently? I loved. Okay.
Lost. I see this Lost and Founder there.
Yeah, that one's mine. Anne-Laure Lecomte wrote Tiny Experiments. This is a great book.
Okay.
I highly recommend it. That's great. Louis Grenier just sent me his Stand the F Out book. Quite good. Very, reminds me of Seth Godin's Purple Cow. It has that but he walks through a lot of detailed stuff around positioning and marketing and messaging, all that kind of stuff. Books can be good. I do find myself resonating more with short form content these days. For a lot of my stuff, it's blog posts and articles rather than full books, but there are a few great ones.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this so freely. Really appreciate the time. Like I said, it's been an honor. I hope we can do this again. I mean, I just love the time, learned so much from you. And, I hope you continue on the streak of being joyful, being so different and clear. I think that's what stands out for me. The clarity, it just kind of shines through.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And Kinner, I wish you and your daughter all the best. I hope the Olympic training stuff goes really well. That's so exciting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Thank you.